My name is Jide Adetunji, and this is my business partner, Ibrahim Kamara, and we are the co-founders of GUAP. So we're going to get into a bit about what GUAP is in the next few slides. Cool.
So at GUAP, we classify ourselves as a magazine, but we also say we're the home of emerging creatives. And with that, we have an online blog, we have a magazine, we run social media channels, we do events, we have a marketing agency, and we also have creative facilities like a podcast studio and a photography studio.
Yeah, so essentially the way we describe it to most people is that we're a youth-led digital media platform dedicated to discovering, showcasing, and nurturing emerging creative talent. And the key word for us is always emerging creative talent. So yeah.
So creativity is the act of turning new ideas and imaginative ideas into reality. Creativity is what's got all of us here today. Creativity is what's got me looking so good today. Creativity has got what this whole thing happening today. And I think it's important for everyone to know that everyone is creative. I think traditionally we put creativity in certain roles, but if you are and have the ability to turn ideas into something, you are creative. And that could be you being an accountant, solving problems. That could be you being an artist, solving certain problems. So yeah, always remember that.
Yeah, and so today we're basically going to be getting into a bit of our story. So the way we actually met was in college. And I would say we weren't the best of friends in college, but we were cool. We had loads of mutual friends. And then we both went to go and study at university together. In the University of Kent in Canterbury, back home in the UK, and essentially that is where our journey started. And to be honest, neither of us studied creative courses. I studied computer science and business administration.
And I studied accounting and finance.
Yeah.
So different.
So very different to what we're doing today, but somehow, one way or another, we ended up in the creative industry, and we're basically going to be talking you through our journey from how we got from our dorm rooms in campus to being creative entrepreneurs here with you guys today.
Cool. So we're going to talk through how we harness the power of creativity to turn that into this over the space of five 6 years. So the one thing we learned from our journey at the beginning is the best thing you can do is start. So we didn't, like we said, we started in more business-y type roles or industries, but we knew we had a mission and we knew we had a purpose to fulfill, and we said the only thing we could do is start.
Yeah, so when we first started, we kind of were very ignorant. We had no clue about the magazine industry, about the marketing industry, or the creative industry as a whole. But it was from our ignorance, I guess, that gave us bravery, and it inspired us to just kind of make a start. So when we started, we had very little experience, but we just went ahead with it. We said, we're going to make this idea happen. We're going to bring it to life. And that's exactly what we did. And literally, the picture from the last slide was made in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
We got the pictures from Google. And like I said, we had no experience, but we just said, you know what?
No experience and no money.
And no money as well. But we said, we're going to make it happen. And that's exactly what we did. And we just kind of grew and developed.
So, this image here is literally
the notes from our first ever meeting.
Our first brainstorm of what GUAP was going to be. And this was back in 2015 when myself and Ginny were at uni. And we're going to go back into the context of why we started. So when we first started GUAP, we're from South London. We're from an area called Peckham. And growing up, being a young person in those areas, especially being like young black men, a lot of the young black guys wanted to either be footballers, rappers, or you'd be a doctor, accountant, because your parents told you to be so. And all the other roles were kind of hidden.
Yeah.
And we kind of said we wanted to make it our mission to show tangible people doing loads of creative things so those individuals can be tangible role models for the next generation.
Yeah, and I think that kind of stemmed from our own personal experience. So like Ibrahim said, when we were growing up ourselves, our parents definitely pushed us into more academic roles. So like Ibrahim studied accounting and finance. Our parents probably wanted us to be doctors. And we feel like a big part of that was because there wasn't enough visibility of people in the creative industry doing amazing things and making good money as well. So we wanted to try and decrease the barriers of entry into the market by providing these tangible role models for the next generation of emerging creatives. So that was the initial spark of why we started. And I guess, yeah, at university, I essentially launched this thing called Buttermill Investment Group. And that was just because when I was on my, was it like my third year, like I did like an internship. So I was doing software engineering for about a year. And I quickly realized that that wasn't what I wanted to do. I got bored of it within like a day or two. And I said, you know what? I want to be an entrepreneur. That was what I wanted to be when I was a kid. I was always that kid in the playground trying to sell drinks and trying to sell sweets. So I said, if ever there's a time to kind of follow my passion, it's now. And then Ibrahim was actually the last person to join that group. And we worked on a few projects together. And through that process, we learned that the both of us worked really well together out of everyone in the group. And we just decided to continue. And one of the projects that we launched was GUAP.
So yeah, following from what Jide just said, we really felt that you have to see it to want to be it. And again, our mission was to show real life, real people doing amazing things and put them in a position where other young people can look up to them. And we also realized community is key. So when we first came into the creative industry, we realized that there was loads of different individuals doing amazing things, but there was nowhere putting all of them together, and especially those from underrepresented communities. And we said, yes, we're going to be the place to actually bring that whole community together and be a launch pad for that.
Yeah, and I think community is key when it comes to the creative industry because, like we said before, the barriers to entry are really high a lot of the time. So we felt like there was a need for a space, more of an emergent space, an underground space where people can kind of come without having the best skills or having the best experience and just kind of practice, meet people, learn from each other, lean on each other, and I guess collaborate with each other more importantly. And we realized that that space didn't exist, so we wanted to create that, and that's how we essentially became the home of emerging creatives.
So, in 2016, this was a tweet that I made on June the 19th, literally after my last shift at a place called Tesco. So in 2016, that was when we went full-time in the creative industry. And at this point, I had like probably about 200, 300 pounds in my bank account. But yeah, I was like, time to risk it all because I realized that time is the only thing you can't get back. Yeah. So all the time that I was working at my part-time job, it was like, I felt like if I was using that time to better my craft, I would be further. So kind of just took the plunge into the risk.
Yeah, and for us, that was a huge sacrifice because we've both gone to university to study these amazing courses. And for us, back home in the UK, it costs about £9,000 a year for us to go to university. So we'd spent a whole load of money and got these degrees, and we're coming out essentially to, start a business, So our parents didn't necessarily believe in what we was doing at first. Our friends were graduating and going into their graduate roles and making loads of money. Loads of people from our age group were going on these expensive holidays, and we were just kind of sitting there like, we have a dream, we have a passion, how are we going to bring this to life? How are we going to take it to the world?
But we realized we needed to stay consistent with our values. So like we said, we are a magazine that focuses on emerging talent. And because we are focusing on emerging talent, it wasn't like the bigger magazines that get the biggest artists in the world or the biggest creatives in the world and are able to reach millions of people. A lot of the time, the people that we were documenting and the people's stories we were sharing were people who wouldn't give us a lot back, but in a few years' time, you would know that we was taste-making and you would see that we were putting people on a platform rather than just hopping onto the bandwagon.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the things that helped us is that we always had our community's best interests at heart. So like Ibrahim said, most of the magazines that were out and that came before us would focus on the superstars, in order to get the millions of views and engagement. But we said, no, we really want to invest in the space that we're occupying and we really want to give back to the next generation. And I think over time that really helped us. So some of the talent that we showed you on the previous slides, when we first worked with them, they were essentially like nobody, but we saw the potential in them and we believed in them. And I guess us using our platform to support them over time showed people in the industry that we were tastemakers and that we had the ability to spot talent before the rest of the world did. And I guess that gave us a unique voice and a unique space.
And that led to us in 2017 attracting our first business client, and that was Nike. And this was at a point where we wasn't getting loads of views. We didn't have the biggest following in the world, but Nike saw what we were doing and saw that we were one of the only places doing it, and they were really attracted to it. So we worked on a campaign with them where we managed to bring loads of different creatives who we believe deserved the opportunity but didn't have anyone in the room to say they did. And we kind of built this ecosystem where anytime we work with a brand, we're making sure that people from the community that the brand is trying to reach are involved in the project behind the scenes and in front of the scene. And I think that that's given us a unique positioning in the creative industry.
Yeah, most definitely. So yeah, like Ibrahim said, you never know who's watching. At the time that Nike approached us, we probably had about 3,000 to 5,000 followers on social media. And, we had loads of people from different agencies, trying to get in contact with us. We had the mayor of London trying to get in contact with us. A few other brands at the time were trying to get in contact with us. And we were just doing our own thing. We had no clue that these people in all these high places were having a look at what we were doing. So to be honest, we were surprised. It was a pleasant surprise, I would definitely say that.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I guess at the time as well, a lot of people saw what we was doing as a hobby, even though we were a legitimate registered company and we were really trying to make things work. Everyone just thought, creativity is something that you can't make money off. It's just something that you're doing for fun. When are you going to get a real job? We used to hear that all the time. But I guess when we attracted a brand such as Nike, we realized that business and creativity can mix. And it's through a thing which we call purposeful profit. And for us, purposeful profit is basically where you work with a company and your purpose aligns. So with us, like we said, we're all about investing into emerging creatives. And nowadays, a lot of brands are also trying to do the same thing. So Nike approached us because they wanted to give back to the creative community. They wanted to find that next generation. And they saw us as an interface for them to be able to do that.
So in 2018, this was our first office, and our first office was the space of a car park space, literally. And for us, we painted these walls yellow. We've done the flooring ourselves.
Yeah, we put up the logo ourselves.
Put up that logo ourselves. And for us, it wasn't the best, but it was a start. And I think for us, it showed us that you should just use what you have. So you might not have all the money in the world, you might not have all the resources in the world, but you can make do and make things happen. And we managed to do a lot of things in that small space that kind of led to other things in the future.
Yeah, and we were proud of that space as well, even though it was literally the size of a car parking space. We were really proud of it, and we were able to make loads of great content from that space, and we were able to connect with loads of cool people. And I guess it also gave us the opportunity to take ourselves a bit more seriously as well, because before that, we were just kind of working out of pubs or working from home, and this gave us a real opportunity to have a place to call home.
So in 2019, we moved into a bigger space because things went a little bit better. But in 2019, we moved into this. We had about 2 or 3 rooms in a warehouse space, and we converted one of the spaces to a podcast studio to allow young creatives to have a space to record their own podcast. And then we had a bigger space for us as a team. Yeah. And in this time, me and Jide still wasn't making a salary. We actually survived off £200 a month for that whole year because we wanted to save the money to basically reinvest into the company.
Yeah. And those were tough times. I remember there were times where we needed to get to a certain video shoot that we was doing, and I didn't have enough money. I had enough money to get to the shoot, but I didn't have enough money to get back home. So I would have to call up my sister and be like, I need some food to get a meal or something. I didn't have the heart to tell her that I didn't have enough money because I didn't want her to tell me to go get a real job. But essentially, those were tough times, but we really did persevere. And I guess we made it through to the other side.
Yeah. So yes, in 2020, a lot of things changed for us. I think lockdown had a big effect on it. Coronavirus had a big effect. But also the killings of people like George Floyd in America. I think in 2020, a lot of brands realized that the new generation and then the next generation of creatives are the most diverse audience ever. And if you want to tap into that audience, you need media platforms and companies that actually speak and work with that community on a day-to-day basis. And in the UK, there isn't many other platforms that are doing it at that scale, which meant that a lot of the brands started coming to us to work. So in the past year, we've done stuff with the Instagrams to Lloyd's Bank to
Adidas.
yeah, there's so many brands that have come to us since 2020, and it was a game-changing year for us.
Yeah. And that allowed us to hire our first full-time team, essentially, because before that we were working with mainly volunteers who were just kind of volunteering their time because they were aligned with our purpose. But in 2020, we were able to hire a team. And of course, it was very scary. I remember the conversation that Ibrahim and I had when we was on our way back from Ghana, I believe. And we was talking about, trying to get to that next stage within our business and that we needed a team in order to grow. But we was looking at our bank account, and our bank account wasn't saying that it was possible. However, we was just like, you know what, we need to go for broke and we need to reinvest. Even if it means emptying out our bank account, we need to hire people in order to take this to the next level. And yeah, that's exactly what we did.
And it paid off because in 2021, this year has been really great as well. So this year, we've passed 1 million in revenue. We've had a new office. And yeah, we became the official creative agency for a brand called Kurt Geiger. We'll go into that a bit more. So Kurt Geiger approached us at the beginning of 2021 saying that they needed a new agency to basically make them realign with what London represents now. So we basically now design all their campaigns. So we choose the talent that's going to be in the campaigns. We shoot the campaigns. Yeah. We also distribute the campaigns.
Yeah, and we also choose the talent that's going to be behind the scenes as well, so the production and everything involved with that. And this is actually one of the latest campaigns that we shot for them. It's supposed to be a video, but
it's meant to be a video. But this was in Waterloo Station in London, which is like one of London's biggest train stations. But this campaign is also worldwide. So if you actually go to the Kurt Geiger store in
the Dubai
Mall, there's assets that we created right there as well.
Yeah, so this is actually us standing outside one of their stores. I believe that one's in Stratford. Yeah. And then, this is our new office space. It's probably about 5 or 6 times bigger than the one that we had last year. So yeah, this year has been an amazing year for us. And I think all of that came through the journey, and reinvesting in ourselves, believing in ourselves, and constantly pursuing our purpose.
Yeah, here are just some more images from the latest Kurt Geiger Christmas campaign we've done. And we put this image up here because we actually had to do these images specifically for Dubai. So we actually chose a model that we thought that was from like the UAE, but based in London. And yeah, we tried to represent the UAE from London.
Yeah.
And yeah. What that showed us is creativity is universal. You don't have to be from somewhere to be able to create for there. Creativity is a language that everyone understands. And if something's good, it's good, and it will pay off.
Yeah, and I think one of the key lessons that we want everyone to take away from this talk is that the language of creativity is something that can be applied in many different contexts. A lot of people don't think that they're creative because they might not be necessarily working within the creative industry or might not be working within a creative role. But there's creative elements to everything that we do on a day-to-day basis, whether that's putting on your clothes to get dressed, whether that's figuring out a way to communicate something with your team or your colleagues. So we definitely feel like some of the concepts that we showcase today is something that you guys can apply in your day-to-day lives. And of course, with the UAE and everything that's being done in order to stimulate creativity, we definitely feel that investing in the emerging creatives is a key thing in that, and building a community around that is also very key. So yeah, that's essentially what we've done through our journey, and we've done that through our platform, which is called GUAP. And you can follow us on social media at GUAPMAG. We're pretty much on every social media platform. And we also have a website, which is www.guap.co.uk, which you can check out all of our content. And yeah, please follow us. Do you have any final words?
Thank you for having us, and thank you to the UAE for inviting us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, appreciate you guys.